everyone. Another book today at Cindy Harper Speaks. And this one is based on real life, unfortunate things that happen, and it's called Floods. So let's just talk about this. And it's by Barbara Brooks Simons. So we're going to read about two types of floods, and let's monitor our reading to make sure we understand each type. So I'm sure you've heard of areas that have been flooded on the news, and hopefully you've never been in a flood, or maybe you have experienced it. So let's read this. Underneath the picture, it says, ancient Egyptians depended on the Nile River for food, travel, and water for crops. People have lived near water throughout time. Being near a river or ocean can make life easier. Rivers give people water for drinking, swimming, and growing crops. Rivers and oceans give people food, such as fish and water birds. People also use rivers and oceans for boat travel. But living near water can also be dangerous. The greatest danger comes from floods. In the United States, about 20 million people live in places where floods are likely. Moving water can be very strong. Flood waters knock down trees and carry away houses. Towns can be lost. People and animals can drown. Look at this picture. This tree is all the way through the building. Says floodwater sent a tree through a second floor window in Johnstown, Pennsylvania in 1889. This is a farm in Iowa is covered by floodwaters in 1998. Ocean floods are caused by very big storms or other unusual events such as earthquakes. In the United States, river floods are much more common. Why do they happen? The easiest answer is too much water. River floods can happen at any time. They are more likely in late winter and early spring. Heavy rain or melting snow can make streams or rivers overflow onto the land and cover fields and roads. Frozen ground can't soak up all the water. Too much water from rain or snow can cause a river to overflow its banks. Rain causes high waters in this Louisiana swamp. Ice blocking a river causes water to overflow the river's banks. Ice covers the Mississippi River. Ice is another problem. Sometimes ice blocks the water in a river. The water stops moving. Tons of water build up behind the ice, flooding the land upstream. When the ice melts, water moves downstream very quickly and causes more flooding. The Hoover Dam was built on the Colorado River in the 1930s. It holds back enough water to cover the entire state of Pennsylvania with 1 foot of water. Wow, that Hoover Dam is doing a great job. Too much water can also make dams break. Dams are giant walls made to block water and control how it flows. They often hold back tons of water. When dams break, the flood is quick and deadly. Today, people know how to build safe, strong dams, but not long ago, many dams were just piles of dirt. They were not very safe. The Mississippi is the largest river in the United States. It moves through a wide valley down the center of the country. There have always been floods along the Mississippi. In many places, people have made walls of earth or concrete along the river's banks. These walls are called levees. Levees help block water from coming onto the land. The Mississippi River floodplain in Iowa is covered with flood water. In this picture here, the flat land on either side of a river is the floodplain. So wherever the river is, the flat line on either side of the river, that's the floodplain, meaning if it floods, that area right there will flood. This picture shows the Mississippi River runs through the center of the United States. A number of other big rivers flow into the Mississippi. So here's the Mississippi River, and look at these other rivers that flow into it. The Mississippi River gets its water from a large part of the United States. Hundreds of smaller rivers send water into the Mississippi. Hundreds. A photographer guides a boat across Mississippi floodwaters that covered this farm in 1993. Wow. Look, he's on a boat. This is towards the top of a farm building. Here's a silo and waters. Some years are worse for floods than others. In the Midwest, people will not forget 1993. Winter snows and spring rain had soaked the ground. In June, more rain began. It fell week after week. The ground couldn't soak it up, so water began to move onto the land all along the Mississippi. The levees could not hold back the water. People rushed to pile up bags of sand, but water moved over fields and washed into houses. The worst floods along the Mississippi were in Iowa, Missouri, and Illinois. From the air, Iowa looked like a huge lake. In all, the floods hit 12,000 square miles in 9 states. About 70,000 people lost their homes. 50 people lost their lives. Missouri residents used sandbags to build up a levee in July 1993. Floodwaters hit Johnstown hard on May 31st, 1889. The worst flood to hit America happened when a dam fell down. Johnstown, Pennsylvania is in a small valley in the Allegheny Mountains. There used to be an old dam about 15 miles above the town on the Little Conemaugh River. No one had fixed it in many years. In the spring of 1889, heavy rains began. At Johnstown, the river rose and covered some streets. By the next morning, the lake behind the dam was full. Later that day, the dam fell from the weight of the water. A huge wave rushed down the narrow valley. The water grew to 70 feet high. It picked up trees and houses. It knocked down bridges and train tracks. In just minutes, the flood reached Johnstown. There was no warning. The water smashed into the town. It washed away factories, stores, and houses. Then it raced down the valley and covered other small towns. More than 2,000 people died in the Johnstown flood. It took a long time for life to return to how it had been. Because of the flood, new laws were passed to make dams safer. This says the floodwaters in Johnstown blasted through buildings, smashing them to bits. Look at what the water damage did from the floods. Hurricane winds and rain pound the East Coast in these 2 photos. Floods also happen near the ocean. In the United States, floods near the ocean are mostly caused by huge storms or hurricanes. In other places, they may happen when an earthquake hits the ocean. Hurricanes often happen in late summer and early fall. These are dangerous storms that begin in the warm waters of the Caribbean Sea. They usually reach land in the southeast United States or the Gulf of Mexico. Hurricanes often bring winds of 100 miles an hour or more. These strong winds whip up high waves that wash over the land. They smash into beach homes and towns. The arrows show the directions that hurricanes usually travel. A truck plows through waters in Cape Hatteras, North Carolina. Almost finished, everyone. Floodwaters from Hurricane Agnes cover a Pennsylvania town. Heavy rains from hurricanes also caused sudden floods away from the seacoast. In June 1972, Hurricane Agnes caused a week of heavy rains. Although the hurricane first hit Florida, the heavy rain hit all along the East Coast. Rivers flooded in Virginia, New York, and Pennsylvania. Roaring water pushed houses out of the ground. The water knocked cars around like toys and smashed boats to pieces. The storm killed more than 100 people and left 250,000 without homes. In some parts of the world, earthquakes can make huge ocean waves called tsunamis. They are most common in the Pacific Ocean. A tsunami moves quickly across the sea at speeds of up to 500 miles an hour. When the wave hits the land, it turns into a giant wall of water. It can be over 50 feet high. It smashes over houses onshore and causes serious trouble. Tsunami waters blast the coast of Hawaii in 1960. Frightened Hawaiians run from tsunami waters in Kilauea in 1960. More tsunamis have hit Hawaii than any other part of the United States. In the past 100 years, there have been 13 big tsunamis in Hawaii. Waves have reached as high as 55 feet. Tsunamis hit Hawaii after a big earthquake in 1975. Campers at Volcanoes National Park woke up when the ground started moving. They could hardly stand up. 30 seconds later, the first tsunami wave hit land. 2 campers drowned and 19 others were hurt. What can people do to stop floods? Dams and levees can help hold back water to stop river floods. People can also dig canals to help carry away flood water. Building homes farther from rivers and oceans also can cut down on damage. Sometimes all people can do is try to escape nature's fury. A riverboat moves down the Mississippi River. So some big floods in American history. 1861, floods rise along rivers on the Pacific coast from Oregon to Southern California. 1889, we read about that, the Johnstown flood kills 2,200 people. 1900, hurricane and floods in Galveston, Texas kills 6,000 people. 1913, floods hit the Ohio River Valley. About 465 people are killed. 1927, rainstorms caused floods on the lower Mississippi, killing 313 people. 1928, the St. Francis Dam near Los Angeles breaks. About 400 people die. 1938, hurricane and ocean storm caused floods in New England. 600 people die. 1972, flash floods hit Rapid City, South Dakota. Hurricane Agnes causes flash floods in New York and Pennsylvania. 1993, floods hit 9 states in the Midwest. 50 people die. And lastly, 1997, the Red River causes floods in North Dakota. Floods. Sometimes we just don't have any control. Hurricanes, tsunamis, earthquakes, a dam breaks. So we do the best we can. And we, in instances when catastrophes like this happen, we help others who have lost their homes, don't have food, don't have shelter. We reach out and we help. So I pray that none of us have to live through a flood, and at least we know some history and we just always hope for the best. So this was a heavy topic today, but it's something that has happened. And so we're informed. So press like at the end if you learned something. How's that? And I'll see you next time at Cindy Harper Speaks. Thanks for tuning in, and bye for today.